Okay, hello and welcome to today's session in the MSDynamicsWorld.com Spring 2014 BI webcast series. I'm Jason Gumpert and we are joined today by Mark Sullivan and Peter Ørum of Target for the session Keeping Up with the Data Growth, the Value Behind Business Analytics and Big Data. Peter and Mark are here to share some of their latest views on BI analytics and what big data means for businesses using dynamic solutions. So as we get started, I just want to add that we do invite you to add your feedback and ask questions for today's session. Peter and Mark will leave some time at the end to answer those questions. And feel free to share your comments as well. So without further delay, please allow me to welcome our first speaker, Mark Sullivan. Mark, are you there?
I sure am, Jason. Thank you very much. Let me share out my desktop, make sure that you can see and hear me very well.
All right, I am seeing that come up now, and I see the agenda.
Super. All right. Well, thank you very much. Everybody, we appreciate your time. My name is Mark Sullivan. I'm the U.S. Practice Manager for Target U.S., and I'm joined today by my very distinguished colleague, Peter Ørum, our Global Product Manager. And what I want to do today is kind of go through a little bit about what business intelligence means for you, what's business intelligence, and what can it do for your organization. I want to talk about big data and what it would mean for your company. 5 steps to becoming a data-driven organization. I want to discuss with you and share with you how you can integrate internal and external data sources into your current Microsoft Dynamics solution. We want to talk about features that should be considered when looking for a business intelligence tool. I'm going to follow that up with a live business intelligence product demonstration of Target. And then I'm going to yield the floor to Peter Ørum. That's going to talk about our recent work that we've done within SharePoint. And then we're going to open up the lines for Q&A. So let's go ahead and get started. What is business intelligence? So when people talk about business intelligence, there are often many buzzwords being thrown around that's associated with BI. Now, is BI a combination of all of these terms, or do some of these terms really mean the same thing? Buzzwords like KPIs, scorecards, dashboards, self-service, slice and dice reporting, multiple data sources, big data, structured data. I mean, the list goes on and on. Looking at the big picture, a more profound yet decisive definition of BI emerges, and that's simply the ability to harness all of your data to empower individuals and companies to make better decisions. I'll say it again, the ability to harness all of your data to empower individuals and companies to make better decisions. Fact-based, single version of the truth decisions. Too many companies really rely on reporting from disparate systems that don't communicate well with each other, often pulling data from different silos, and then getting a single version of the truth to act upon is nearly impossible. Without business intelligence, companies are forced to make decisions with the information that they can harvest, but often this information is not real-time or even near real-time data. Making the best possible decisions for your company requires not only the ability to pull all of these data sources together, but being able to leverage this data on a multitude of different platforms and devices, like a smartphone or a tablet, from a Windows client or a browser, or from your portal, like your SharePoint. But it also requires the ability for end users to interact and create within this data, to have the continuity between all of these devices to harness your data so that no matter where you are and what kind of KPIs you need to drill into, the end user is empowered to embrace self-service analytics. BI is not waiting for your business analyst or IT department to generate those KPI dashboards. It's certainly not scrolling through a database of pre-canned reports. The ability to, at your fingertips, have those drillable KPIs or real-time inventory reports that you can act upon and make fact-based decisions from, this is the real definition of business intelligence. The continuity of all of this analytical reporting across a multitude of different platforms, that's the power of business intelligence. A decision-making framework essentially allows companies to make better decisions. The observation, orientation, decision, and action functions of the OODA loop. Now, this simple model illustrates the process by which an organization should react to any event. The process starts with an observation on your data, and time is also a critical factor when going around the loop as well. So the faster that you can go through the stages, the more competitive you're going to be. Progression within the loop, from observation to orientation to decision to action, should always be just a matter of a few clicks away. Whether you're observing a deviation and need to kind of hop into the loop, navigating from each one of these 4 prongs of the decision-making circle is essential. All features of any business intelligence solution should be developed with some type of philosophy like this in mind. Now, once the OODA loop philosophy is in place at your organization, intelligent dashboards, notification agents, and reports will ensure that you're completely up. Even a slight deviation, you're going to know about it instantly. There are essentially 5 steps to take when striving to become a data-driven organization. So first of all, knowing what you want to measure. Second of all, gathering all your data sources. Thirdly, getting everybody on the same page. There's room for every department to improve efficiencies. Fourth, doing it on your terms. Data-driven organizations are not confined by reporting cycles and pre-configured KPIs. And second of all, lastly, realize that not all useful data belongs to your business. So clicking into this a little bit more, gathering your data sources. So you really want to look at everything within your organization that you could potentially pull from. For instance, your CRM or ERP data, maybe some product or service tracking software, your inventory data, Google Analytics, maybe some marketing data or Excel data, or perhaps even direct feedback from your customers. Then you want to be able to get everybody on the same page and learn from your data. Are salespeople, for instance, hitting targets for particular products or particular offerings? Is there any seasonality that's involved? Are, for instance, discounts maybe making a significant enough difference in buying patterns to be worth it? Are there particular products or services that only sell to particular buyer types in particular seasons? So also doing things on your terms and being able to share your data. For instance, do you want to learn about more about a figure that you've recently seen in a report? Or do you want to set up a report for batch scheduling? Do you want to be able to maybe adjust criteria or add visualization to analyze information from a new perspective? Or maybe you just have a burning question that doesn't need to become a reoccurring KPI. That's where Adhoc Analytics comes in. Adhoc Analytics are going to allow users to create analysis and reports on an individual basis rather than exclusively in the context of reoccurring reports, for instance. And lastly, go outside and play. So while there's untold benefits to be gained from everything that lies within your data warehouse, there's data sources available to you that can offer a significant amount of insight to your organization. For instance, consider combining your CRM or ERP data with social media. Taking the raw data from social media and connecting it to your marketing or sales data, that's very, very powerful. Very, very powerful insight that you could use to increase sales and efficiencies in your organization. Big data. So big data is another buzzword. It's another catchphrase that's out there. And it's essentially just used to describe a very large volume of both structured and non-structured data that's difficult to report against simply because due to the size and the sheer amount of the data. Companies are increasingly looking to find actionable insight into their data, and often the need arises while trying to answer what appears to be a very simple question, like what are my customers saying about my product pre and post sale? How can we increase sales and increase our sales intelligence to increase sales to existing clients? Or maybe how can we attract new clients away from our competitors? Big data sources are created every day based on technologies like Hadoop or BigQuery. But to consume the data, it is essential to have an easy-to-use front-end tool where end users can instantly dive into the big data source and utilize the data to make the best possible decisions for their organization. The ability to attach a unified front-end business intelligence platform to all of your data sources without requiring knowledge of different query languages like MDX or perhaps different SQL dialects, this will enable more consumption, and the more consumption will yield better business decisions, enabling consumption of the data as reports or dashboards literally anywhere via a laptop or a tablet or a browser or a portal will put efficiencies into the decision-making process. In this example here, on this architecture slide, Target can connect to any type of data source, and the information can be consumed in a variety of different ways. So Target, for instance, can connect directly to your source system, right to your Microsoft Dynamics products. It can also connect to a relational database or also to OLAP cubes. These blue lines here represent the SQL Server integration services. So bringing data that's not in your ERP or CRM system, but maybe existing data that you want to be able to pull in and leverage for consumption. Also an auxiliary database, or perhaps you want to be able to leverage your SharePoint or another type of portal, or you want to be able to tap into big data sources, or maybe some legacy database systems, SQL and non-SQL alike. And perhaps you'll have the need to actually take it with you. So mobility. So the ability to attach your data to multiple data sources, and then for consumption, being able to consume that data on a web client, Windows client, a mobile device, a tablet, that's really the power of business intelligence. Now, there are some things to consider when searching for a BI platform. It has always been our belief to stay with the Microsoft technology and stay with best practices. Proprietary back-end tools, for a number of reasons, is not the way that we feel is the best route to go, and a lot of other people as well. Just even from a staffing perspective and a talent perspective, there's a wide range of SQL talent in the marketplace, whereas talent for a specific proprietary tool is certainly not going to be in abundance, and it's certainly not going to be as scalable. So scalability is something that you want to be able to look at as well. And from a technology standpoint, it's in the best interest of everybody in the organization to kind of have that one tool in the toolbox that can do everything for you. So really, staying away from the proprietary back-end tools, making sure that, one tool can handle all of your needs instead of having a little tiny arsenal of a bunch of different pieces, parts of BI, and something that's going to be scalable, that can grow with your organization. From an end user standpoint, I think that the number one thing to look at is going to be ease of use. So this is going to be the adoption rate of business intelligence, which is automatically going to affect the consumption and ultimately the decision-making process within your organization. Empower the end users to create what they need, not adding bottlenecks to the IT department or the business analyst, empowering the end users to get the information that they need on whatever platform they wish to consume the data on. And then in general, a development philosophy. Challenge your BI vendor in this area. Make sure that they actually have a decision-making philosophy in place that mimics the development of their software. And of course, lastly but not leastly, longevity and reputation in the marketplace. So this is not a death by PowerPoint session. I'm actually going to dive into a product demonstration of Target right now. And I'm going to start off with a view that I think would be unique for any executive or any manager, being able to have a scorecard or have a particular dashboard to monitor KPIs. In this particular view, again, I think it would be ideal for any executive. You can have a very clean portal look and feel. Here I'm looking at a sales team performance dashboard. I have a hot folders list, so if I wanted to keep my most important reports or analysis handy, I certainly could. I'm in my hot folder as far as sales go. I can have a link to my SharePoint portal, or perhaps an external facing website here. And I can also have the ability to filter any report around analysis that I wanted to look at. So for instance, I've got some demo data loaded here. This is not hooking into a live nav or AX install. But if I wanted to sort by any dimension, I could add any dimension that I wanted to this criteria bar and begin filtering. So for instance, if I wanted to filter from, different years here, everything on this object here on this analysis is automatically going to update. If I wanted to drill into, any type of object as far as my posting period or perhaps form the actual performance day of any of these particular team members. So I've got sales staff people. I've got my sales per posting period here. For instance, these are customers that we're selling into, and these are items that we go to market with. So if I wanted to drill down on any one of these individuals, I'll pick on Linda Martin here, for instance. I can see that she's leading the pack here as far as sales go. Looks like she's got 30% of all the sales in my company. If I wanted to look at somebody who's ranked in the middle here, for instance, John Roberts, it looks like he has a much higher profit margin. If I wanted to drill out from anybody, it looks like overall my profit margin as an organization is about right under 20%. If I just wanted to look at Linda Martin, she's kind of lagging here a little bit. If you ever wanted to do any benchmarking within Target, it's just really a question of dragging and dropping what you want to benchmark, for instance, in a posting period. So if I wanted to look at this particular benchmarking between John Roberts and Linda Martin, then I automatically have my benchmarking here. So as an executive, this tells me that I would probably want to maybe pass this off to one of my engineers or maybe one of my business analysts to take a closer look at to see what's going on with the performance here of Linda Martin as far as this particular kind of downward trend, if you will, as far as profit margin go. If I wanted to maybe email this off to maybe one of my sales managers I'd mentioned. With Target, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click File, and I'm simply just going to select this little email icon. And what Target has already done, Target has already taken a snapshot of this particular place in time where I was, and it's going to allow me to share this information with whoever I want in the organization who might be able to take a closer look at this and to be able to dive in to what's going on with Linda Martin. So here's the exact kind of place and time, so to speak, that I was. So as an executive or as a manager, I navigated all 4 points of that decision-making process all within this particular dashboard. So I started, observing the data and trying to find out, what's going on with sales performance and with profit margin. And then with the fewest amount of clicks as possible, I moved myself into that orientation phase. I could leverage a criteria bar to drill down a little bit further. I can add any other types of elements that I want, maybe benchmarking between 2 certain individuals, and then ultimately sharing that knowledge throughout the organization. So I navigated all 4 prongs of that decision-making circle with the fewest amount of clicks as possible. So if somebody wanted to kind of pick up where things left off, so to speak, and drill into what's going on to Linda Martin, what somebody could do is come here to this same particular place in time, and I see that this smiley face right here is actually a little bit frowning. What I can do is click on that and see if Target can give me any insight at all. And it says that essentially they're not happy because it looks like sales per month per posting period is decreasing. So I'm going to have Target show me. I want to get a little bit of analytics in here. I could see that this is trending a little bit down. If you ever want to get into the raw numbers behind any graphical representation in Target, you can toggle back to the raw numbers right here. And so it certainly looks like over time she's slowly kind of winding down here as far as profit margin goes. Now I'm done with this particular object, But if I wanted to maybe add some other additional objects or maybe some other measures or dimensions into some of these analyses here, these objects within an analysis rather, then I could leverage what's called a smart pad over here. And I've got my source data right here. I'm actually pulling right now from a nav cube. But if I wanted to, for instance, say, look, I see that, this is the one company that Linda Martin's selling into. Here are all the different items that she sold into. And I want to be able to take a look at profit margin kind of next to sales. So I'm just going to go into my measures. I'm going to select profit margin. I'm going to come back and fetch the data. Now, if you have dozens of rows or maybe even hundreds of rows, to make this a little bit easier on my eye, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up an intelligent agent. And I want to be able to put up, something that's going to make sense to me a little bit easier on my eyes. So I have a color agent here. I've got different icons or gauges that I can use. What I want to do is, for instance, just maybe use a 2 thumbs up state here. So what I want to do is define, I know that anything around profit margin needs to be above 17%. So hypothetically speaking, I'm just going to say everything above 17% I want to be a green thumbs up, and then maybe anything below 17% I want to be a thumbs down. So now this makes it a lot clearer for me. What I want to do is look through here. It looks like she's just really having a problem with profit margin on these 2 products. They both look like whiteboards, a black trim and a blue trim whiteboard. Now, I can certainly pick up the phone and talk to Linda about what's going on with the profit margin. But what I want to do from here is make sure that Target can kind of work around the clock for me. So I want to set up a notification agent. And you can set up a notification agent on any number in Target, whether you're looking at a report or an analysis. And in this particular instance, I want to be able to be notified if profit margin changes at all, say more than maybe 1%. So instead of the executive of sales, for instance, maybe emailing me a snapshot of Linda Martin's performance, I want to be notified ahead of time to take some corrective measures. Now, I can add certain criteria if I wanted. I could schedule this to alert me, but I just want to be notified anytime that happens. So for a delivery method, I'm just going to pick notify me on email. I can include other people on this email should I choose. I could compose a little text message, monitoring the performance of Linda Martin, but I'm just going to set this up. And right now, this is sitting on our Target AND server, waiting for that threshold to be crossed. So as soon as profit margin changes at all by at least a percentage point, I'm going to be notified. Now, what I want to do here is maybe gain some insight that I typically would need to go to an IT analyst or a business analyst to get for me. I want to see maybe if there's any outstanding orders that Linda Martin has taken, but maybe they just haven't posted. So I want to see if any of these outstanding orders maybe have a negative trend as far as profit margin is concerned. So what I want to do is just tap right into my source systems here. So I've got my measures and dimensions, and I want to be able to add another element in this analysis, and I want to look for open orders. So the first thing that I'm going to look for is I'm going to look for some open orders. I want to look for an order amount, and I want to be able to have a profit percentage on there. I want to do this for Linda Martin, so I'm going to pick a salesperson as a dimension. And then maybe I want to have an insight into maybe the different products that she's sold that haven't posted. So let me pick like maybe a product description and a product number. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fetch the data here. And I can see that on these whiteboards here that I'm drilled into, the profit margin is 13.9%. I'm going to drill out of this particular object. So all of these panes are hyper-related to one another. It's always going to be contextual of where you point and click. So right now, I am showing that we've got a profit margin overall of 19.6%. I'm going to make things a little bit easier on my eye here on this particular object. I'm going to define, and I'm just going to move product description down to this axis and then fetch the data. So if I wanted to drill out and see maybe John Roberts, how's he doing? He has a profit margin of 23.7%. And he's selling into a lot of different companies here. And Linda Martin's got a profit margin there of a measure of 19.6. So this tells me that I don't think Linda Martin really has an issue as far as profit margin. It just really is on these particular items here. So this is something that I want to be able to monitor, and maybe I would want to actually put together maybe an analysis or a dashboard so I can monitor profit margin maybe on a daily basis, or at least a few times a day. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to actually build an analysis from scratch. Now, I could do it the old school method, if you will. I can add an object like I did on that previous analysis, and a kind of a cross-tab look and feel, and I could add dimensions and measures. But there's an easier way to do it, and I'm going to leverage this patented technology that we have. It's the decision search, also known as the intelligent wizard. And I'm basically going to tell Target what I'm looking for, just like I would be standing in the office of one of my business analysts, and I'm going to tell Target what I want. I want to be able to, for instance, I want to analyze. And I want to begin to analyze, say, my margin by a salesperson, and by products, and by a period. So I want to add a time element. And I'm simply going to click Analysis. And Target has already built a 4-object analysis for me. So as I mentioned earlier, you can add any dimension that you want to a criteria bar to allow for further filtering. So perhaps I wanted to be able to, let's maybe add some type of customer element. So if I wanted to add like maybe a customer name to the criteria bar, I'm just going to right click and add customer name, and then maybe some element of time. So if I wanted to be able to say, let's get a posting period up there. And initially, I'm just going to start off with this. I could add any dimension that I want. So if I wanted to make this a little bit more relevant, let me just select these 3 years here. If I wanted to gain some forward-thinking insight and add a regression, I can see that we're kind of missing the mark here. Now, if I wanted to filter this from, say, a customer name, what's going on with this Datum Corporation? Everything is automatically going to reflect the Datum Corporation, and so on and so forth. If I wanted to select, let's go down to this humongous insurance agency, then everything is going to reflect just that. So all of these objects, by default, out-of-the-box functionality, are automatically going to be linked to one another. So when you're slicing and dicing and peeling back the layers of the onion, so to speak, it's going to make it very easy to gain that visual insight to your data. So what I want to do is maybe I want to be able to save this and access this on a daily basis, or maybe throughout the day I want to be able to look at this. So I'm just going to save this analysis. And let's just save this as, let's call this MS Dynamics in all caps. That way I can find it here, fat fingering the keyboard. And I'm just going to put this into my shared folder. So by default, anybody that wants to take advantage of my shared folder, they absolutely can. Here is my Microsoft Dynamics dashboard that I just built. If I wanted to include that onto my hot folder, for instance, I'm just going to drag and drop it up here, and I'll have my hot folder up there for me to leverage. Now, I can also build a report the exact same way. So I could use a cross tab if I wanted to, or I could use this intelligent wizard, which is what I'm going to do right now. So for instance, if I wanted to set up a report based on profit and profit margin, and I want to be able to make sure that I could email this out to everybody in the organization, all of the sales members, but I want each person on my sales staff to have their own version of the report. So I'm going to enable some batch processing. So just like I created an analysis, I'm going to say that I want to report. And I want to report on, say, a salesperson, and let's say products that I go to market with, and a margin. And I'm simply going to click Report. I want to stack this up against the different products that I go to market with. And here I have a very neat 5-page report. I'm going to save this and set this up for batch scheduling. And I'll call this report, I'll just call this Thursday report. And I'll save this. Now, if you're in any report and there's something that you might want to drill into, maybe something that's kind of glaring. You could actually hyper-relate from a report to analysis and then back to that report again within Target. So for instance, I'm looking at this and I see everybody's in their 20s here except for this one individual, Richard Lum, at 19% profit margin. From that report, I'm going to click right into this number. And I'm going to be taken into a 4-object analysis regarding this particular number on this particular rep. So I'm looking at the profit margin per posting period, per product, and per the posting group and the salesperson, Richard Lum. So I can see that he's going to be forecasted here to miss the mark. So if I wanted to set up a notification agent here, I certainly could. If I just wanted to go back to the original report that I had, here it is. So I can hyper-relate from a report into an analysis if something piques my interest, and then back to that report. So I've got the report right here. This is the Thursday report. To set this up for batch processing, I'm just going to find the report, and I'm going to schedule this for export. And what I can do is I could use any type of format that might make sense for me. For instance, I'm going to leave this as PDF, but I wanted to put this out as a Word doc or HTML format. I certainly could. I could pick a delivery method. So if I wanted to send this by email and then manually enter email addresses and include a subject line and perhaps a little message, but I want to schedule this for batch processing. So I just want everything to be exported to a folder, and then I want each member that I send this to have their own information. They're not going to be able to see anybody else's information. This is going to be an individual report. And I'm basically going to set this up once. It took me about a minute or less than a minute to set up this report. And I want this report to run on a delivery method of, say, I can run this weekly or what have you, but I'm just going to enable batch processing, and I'm going to select my recipients, and that's going to be my salespeople. And if I wanted to schedule this to run every Friday or every Monday, it's just going to do that. It's just going to run until I turn this off. And I have to actually get some batch member participants here, and I'm going to click all of those. And I'm going to do this to a folder and my batch. And I'm just going to select them. And now this is all set to be set up for batch delivery. So if I wanted to run this now, I certainly could. And I could also have this scheduled to whenever I want. So this is a huge time saver for any organization. A lot of times people have a resource that spends, at least a handful of hours every week scheduling reports, where you can set this up within Target, and then it's just going to run. So if I look at my exported reports, I'm actually going to pull that up here, and then I'll be able to see my different reports that I have. And these are all the Thursday reports that I just ran. And everybody has their own individual reports. So again, this is a huge time saver. If you can save one resource just 1 hour a week doing reports, at the end of the year, that's typically about 6 weeks of salary. So just from a reporting standpoint, Target is going to be able to kind of fit the mark. You want any type of automation in whatever tool that you should choose. So before I kind of hand things off to Peter Ørum, what I want to do is talk about ad hoc analysis real quickly, and being able to, at your fingertips, bring some data in for Target to analyze that this data might not be sitting in your data warehouse. Maybe it's some external data from a competitor or from a trade show or something like that, maybe a slice of big data. So what I have here is that I have what's called a crossbone file. And what this does is I have some information here that's just a slice of raw data. And this is just a slice of some big data. I've got all sorts of information here about sales information. This is a huge file. I can drag and drop this right into Target, and Target is automatically going to process this as a cube and then turn that into a cube. So for instance, I've got my data sources here. I've got my AX, some pure SQL data, nav, and now I also have this retail copy of some big data. So this is something that I could just drag and drop right into Target and instantly begin analyzing from. So for instance, if I wanted to take a look at this, Target has automatically picked up the different measures and dimensions associated with this. So maybe I want to be able to look at some numbers. So for instance, let's take this revenue, and I want to be able to, for instance, add this as an object. And I think I actually forgot to reload Target here. My apologies. So I'm going to reload Target and log back in. But essentially, anything that's in your data warehouse, you can immediately begin to leverage with Target, and something that's out of your data warehouse, you're automatically going to be able to bring that in and begin to leverage Target as a front-end tool. So that pretty much concludes a general harbor cruise, if you will, of Target. So let me get the controls over to Peter, and he's going to talk a little bit more about the actual he's going to be talking about what we're doing within the SharePoint integration. Okay, Peter, I've made you the presenter right now.
That sounds great. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our integration into Microsoft SharePoint. We have been working hard on doing something really cool with Target here that was fruitful here in the beginning of the year. So what we have done is that we've integrated Target straight into the SharePoint environment. It makes sure that you can keep whatever users' permissions they have within your BI environment will be applied to the SharePoint. You can, when you have the analytics, work with them with very few clicks. And when it comes to configuring this, then everything is done within SharePoint. You don't have to go into third-party applications or do anything. It's simple point and click. I think that's really cool with Target, and then the way that we do this is that when you have created an analytics in the Windows client or in the web client, then you can consume this on all the portals. You can say that Target as a BI solution can be used for deploying to whatever platform or device that you want. These are the platforms that we have support for when it comes to mobility. We just released a new Windows Mobile application, which people really love, especially in Europe. They've really embraced it. We have the Google Play Store. We have the Target Touch in there, and we of course have it on the iOS platform, where I think we were among the first movers on that. And then we have the SharePoint integration. Let me try and go in and showcase how it is that you could do this. So first of all, I just want to give you a quick peek at how we integrate into SharePoint. And if I start up what they call the SharePoint Central Administration, this is where you do everything when it comes to SharePoint. Then we have the Target configuration as a native menu item in here. You can click it. And in here, you can then set up the integration, where it is you have stored it on the server, where the Target server is located. And then we have some default web path settings that you can go up here and configure. You can set whether you want something we call the Smart Path Navigation Bar Ribbon, whether you want that to be default. And then for each of the object types, you can set some default sizes for each of them. When you've done that, you can hit save, and then off you go. This is stored and ready. Let's try and do a little scene change. I'm going to minimize this one, and I'm going to go into my SharePoint portal. What I've started here is I just created a new page within SharePoint, and then up here I can go up and edit the page. Salesperson status. Then I can write a little bit of text. Below is the current Q1 sales status for all salespeople. Of course, now I've written all this here, it might be nice to actually go and integrate some analytics in here. instead of typing it in or copying it from Excel and remembering to update it. So what I can do instead is I can simply go down. I have a little table here. I can go up and choose Insert. I can go up here to Parts and choose I want to insert a web part. In here, I can scroll down. I can find the target category. And we have 3 different types. An active web part is where you integrate our web client into the SharePoint portal. That means that you can click and you can do drills and you can do all kind of things in there. It's a little bit of a higher load that you get by that, but gives you more functionality. Then we have the dynamic web part, which is the one that I'm going to start out demoing here. The dynamic web part means that whatever user credentials that you're logging into SharePoint with will be passed on to Target, and all content that's going to be extracted from Target and displayed in here is 100% governed by that user permission. We also have a snapshot where you, as a user, you can easily insert an image right now from what you have in Target. So if you want to create a SharePoint page for every month that you have a monthly report or something, you can just use the snapshot web part. What's cool about the snapshot web part is that it's something that when you take the snapshot, then it's available to everybody within the organization. You don't need to have a Target license. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start out doing the Target dynamic web part. I'm going to add this one. Then we get the web part showing up. I can go up here and do the drop down and choose I'd like to configure it. We get the web part settings out here on the right side. I can go up here and say I would like to point to a document. So I'll click the document. I get a list of all my folders. I'm going to go into shared. And what I'm interested in here is I want to go down and find the one that I had salesperson status for Q1. So I'm going to click this one here. It retrieves the analysis that we have in Target. We can see either we can insert the entire analysis with everything, more or less the workspace that you saw Mark demoed so much within the Target, or I can go ahead and choose a single object. You can go down and select it and choose OK. And then we can scroll down here at the bottom and then say OK. So Target is querying this, and we actually have that analytics in here. One of the things that's great about this is that you can take information from anywhere within your BI solution and add to here. So if I want to go ahead and add something else over here, I might want to have some information about my production because that might be affecting my sales. Then I can just position my cursor. I can go up here to Insert, and I can go to the parts, choose Web Part again. I still have my dynamic web part, so I'm going to add another one. Go over and I can do the drop down and edit it. Over here on the right side, we get everything. So I can go to document, I can go into shared, I can go into my production. And then I can take a look at, I have a dashboard that's got these objects. You see we have several of them here. Or I can take a look at the other one. This one might be interesting. So I'm going to actually go ahead and select the top chart and choose OK to this. And then I can scroll down here and choose OK. So now we have those two published in here in my SharePoint. If I want to, I can actually go ahead and work even more with it. I can do the drop down, edit the web part, and then I can say that for this particular one, instead of me having to copy this one for if I want to do it for different product groups, I can actually add a criteria in here. I can click criteria, choose to add a criteria, say I would like to have this one show for only a single product group. What I'm interested in showing it for is only going to be the jeans. I can choose OK to this. I have this and hit the big OK button again and end up telling SharePoint to reload it. So now we have the information here. You can see that it changed, and even if we go up here, then we can actually see the explanation explaining what it is that we've done. So now I have put this into SharePoint. Let me go up here and save the page, and it's published. One thing that we've done that's really cool is then that if I go up here and click on the title, let me see here. I already had Target open, so I just want to shut that one down. I can click here, and then you can actually see how this target loads, and you get into the context that you came from within SharePoint. So this is a very dynamic solution, making it very easy to deploy your business analytics. And instead of telling and teaching users how to actually go ahead and access the BI solution by launching BI application, you can start within SharePoint and get in here, and then it's easy to explain to the users that if they want to see production yield for t-shirts, then they can just do a click down here and you can see how the charts they update. Very, very easy way to consume your business intelligence on Microsoft SharePoint. So, if I can get my slides up and running again here, then I'm not the only one that loves this new functionality for Target, but also Target Italy has written something here that they just love it. So, so that was what I had planned. So thank you all for watching what Mark and I had put together for you guys. If you want to learn more, then you can contact Target down there. We have an email, we have a phone number, and then I think we're ready for doing a little Q&A session.
That's right. Thank you, Peter. Yeah, if you want to maybe stop your sharing, it'll make it a little easier for the attendees to access the Q&A blocks that they'll see on the right side of the screen. And we can just bring up the, I think that same slide. So yeah, thanks again, Peter and Mark for showing off so many different features and so many different concepts there. We'd love to hear from you in the audience, hear about your challenges. Do you have specific questions about the products you've seen or some of the techniques and the approaches to managing data that you saw there today? We'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to enter your questions in the Q&A block that you should see, or the chat block that you should see to the right of the slides right now. One question that came in: do you offer pre-built cubes for Dynamics? I guess any Dynamics products.
Yes, absolutely. So we've got pre-built cubes for essentially everybody in the Dynamics family. So for NAV and AX, for GP, and for CRM. And essentially these are pre-built, so you could essentially, it takes about 10 minutes to install Target, about 20 minutes to install one of our cubes. So typically within about 30 minutes or so upon install, you can begin using Target on your data. We've recently made an enhancement to our pre-built cubes. They're called our Business Intelligence Accelerators, where any customizations that you've made, so you know, additional tables or anything like that that you've done, when we bring that over, we could bring over those customizations as well. So it's not just how your AX or CRM, you know, came out of the box with those measures and dimensions, those customizations and those things that you've changed to your Dynamics product. We're going to be able to bring over those changes too in the accelerator process.
And Mark, just briefly, if someone's not real familiar with cubes, what are some of the advantages to having these pre-built cubes as opposed to having to start with maybe what they had by default with their Dynamics database?
Sure. Well, the cubes are essentially built for and designed for high querying. So although we could connect to any data source, so we can certainly connect directly to, you know, a Dynamics product, whether it be you know, an ERP system or CRM. The more users that you have and the more, you know, workload that's being put onto that server, there is going to be some type of performance eventually with any tool that's hooked directly to that. So just for faster results, you know, those OLAP cubes are designed for high querying. We can also connect directly to a relational database as well. So, you know, if you know that performance is not going to be an issue, connecting directly to your dynamic source systems, we can absolutely do that. If you've built out a data warehouse, we can connect to that relational database. Or if you want to be able to have that OLAP cube, so basically designed for high querying results, then we have that as well. And of course, we've got that for the major areas of, like for instance, within NAV and AX, you know, the major areas of sales, finance, inventory, project, CRM, and then for like Microsoft CRM, activity, invoice, lead, opportunity, quote, sales order. So for those major business areas within your Dynamics product, we've got a pre-built cube for you. So it literally is plug and play. The very cool thing is that now we can bring over all of those customizations that you've made as well.
All right, great. I am not seeing any other questions right now, so we can start to wrap up, but people are welcome, I guess, to have a last call for questions here. We do ask, as we wrap up, we will have a quick survey we'd invite you to fill out. We'd love to hear your feedback. The speakers always appreciate it as well. After the session, it should just take 15 or 30 seconds. Well, Peter and Mark, let me just start by thanking you for your time today.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been our pleasure.
And thanks to everyone in the audience for attending. We appreciate your attention and appreciate you attending. Please be on the lookout for more BI and reporting webcasts that we do have planned throughout the spring. And we are recording the session and we'll make it available quite soon. So with that, I will say thank you and have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.